Alright then, and finally, before we go, we're just going to do a short segment on our picks for the awards for this year. We're going to go through the MVPs and the Cy Youngs in both leagues. We'll start out with the AL MVP. I personally have Josh Hamilton in this one. I think he's got all the stats to back it up. He is almost hitting 360, which is just incredible. And he really has the intangibles too, because he lifted his team up, he helped them along, and they did a lot better than they thought they would. So I got Hamilton.
Yeah, when you talk about Hamilton, you're talking about a 5-tool player too. So he's not only helping you on offense, but defense. Miguel Cabrera put up amazing stats, but I think ultimately he loses out to Hamilton because Rangers made the playoffs and the Tigers did not. So.
Hamilton has everything you'd look for in an MVP candidate. His team surprised. The Angels have always won that division for so long. They keep trying to upgrade with their pitching. The Rangers completely just demolished them this year in the race. Josh Hamilton, 360, enough said. I mean, you can't really go wrong with that. Just too much. I just think he's just too good at everything going on around. There's no real legitimate contender elsewhere. Miguel Cabrera had a great offensive year, but he wasn't as complete a player. The Tigers just didn't do nearly as well. Hamilton just meant more to his team than anybody else in the AL.
All right, so then on to the National League MVP, and I have Carlos Gonzalez in this one actually. I think that him and Joey Votto match up really well. I'm going to take him just because he had slightly better stats in some areas. He was a little better of a base runner maybe. I mean, I don't know, he really looked good to me, especially towards the end of the season. And even though the Rockies didn't manage to make the playoffs, I think he meant a lot to his team. That's why I give it to him.
Yeah, I think Votto just edges out Gonzalez and Pujols in this one. He beat Pujols in the average race, and Pujols won the RBIs and home runs race. So, but he didn't make the playoffs, and Votto did. So Votto takes it.
I think Votto just meant too much to his team. That entire Reds lineup, which was so successful, was built around him. Brandon Phillips, everybody else on that lineup, Scott Rowland. They all were. It was just driven by Votto. He helped everybody else in the lineup out. He was just too good all around, batting average, home runs. He just meant too much to his team. The Reds actually ended up winning their division as opposed to the Rockies, which I think you have to factor in. He got it done when he needed to. I just think you have to go with Joey Votto here.
All right, well, let's move on to the American League Cy Young. And in this one, I think unquestionably it has to go to Felix Hernandez of the Mariners. I know his team didn't do that well, but that really wasn't his fault. In everything except for the win-loss record, he excelled. He had the best ERA, second best strikeouts, most innings pitched. And to me, that's what makes the Cy Young Award winner. I don't think the wins matter as much, so I'm giving it to Hernandez.
Yeah, Hernandez did have an impressive year, but I think at the end of the day, when you look at it, Price was again pitching in the AL East, which I said is the best division in baseball. To do that, throughout the whole season and finish with, I think he had 21 wins and top 3 in ERA. I think it's him this year.
I'm actually going to go with CC Sabathia from the Yankees. Reed makes a good point about the AL East, by far the greatest competition. And CC Sabathia, of course, pitching in New York under the spotlight, which fails so many pitchers. You have to consider that 21 wins, only 7 losses. He was just unbelievable. He really was. Every time he went out there, the Yankees knew what they were getting. He was a power pitcher who he really controlled. This is not an indictment to Felix Hernandez. I am not downgrading him because of that mediocre record. I just think that Sabathia in New York, you can't overlook how much he had to overcome and what he was able to pull off.
All right, finally, we'll do the National Cy Young Award. And this one, I gotta say, I really think it goes to Roy Halladay here. I mean, he has a great ERA, 2.44. He won 21 games. But even more than that, he is a legitimate threat every time he goes out to throw another complete game. He had 9 this season, 4 shutouts, a perfect game on top of that, and there's no one else that even comes close to that. He just dominated the competition, and I don't see any pitcher that's better.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say he made the transition to the NL pretty well. He was a workhorse all year and finished, ERA, strikeouts were outstanding. It's really the only guy that can have it.
I questioned the trade at the time, giving away Cliff Lee, who was still good in the playoffs, for Roy Halladay, but now I just look like an idiot. Roy Halladay was simply phenomenal this year in every single aspect. There's no one who really compared. Tim Hudson, Baldo Jimenez, they all had their moments, but Halladay throughout the year was just too good. The Phillies would not have come back and won this division without him. Wouldn't have even been close. You have to give it to Halladay. All
right, then that's all we got for now. Make sure you keep tuned in October and see what happens in the baseball playoffs. And we'll see you next time. PSN, I'm Marshall Steele.